general public may be concerned, but wants to remind everyone licensed gun owners in Texas are thoroughly vetted. Morgan will be joining us tonight. Also, Sean Felice, a concealed handgun license holder. You can email us your comments and questions now to ABC-7 Xtra at KVIA.com. You can also reach us at 915-496-1775 or tweet me at MariaGABC7. There are nearly 1 million people in Texas licensed to carry a handgun, about 12,000 of them here in El Paso. Our Darren Hunt asked El Pasoans what they thought of the new law that took effect this January 1st.
Have you seen anybody openly carrying today?
No, I have not seen anybody openly carrying today.
We've been to Walmart and a couple of different places and haven't seen anybody with guns.
Have you seen anybody openly carrying today?
Not at all.
No.
Would you think about doing it?
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. I'm glad we're doing it.
While no one had spotted anyone carrying a handgun yet, most had an opinion about open carry now being legal.
I think we've seen a lot of incidents where there's only one person that's armed and they try to take control. So I think if more people are armed, I truly think they're going to think about it twice before they do something crazy.
Supporters think it will reduce crime, while opponents think it will increase crime.
How do you feel about it?
Well, you know, I think as long as it's responsible people with guns, it's okay. But unfortunately, you know, you're still going to find some hotheads that'll do it, and we might have a few problems down the road. But overall, I'm okay with it.
The new law will not allow for open carry at schools, sporting events, or at bars. Other places where open carry may be banned is at churches and where government meetings are held, as long as signs with proper language are posted.
Businesses must make a choice whether they will allow guns or not. This barbershop on Mesa Street says it will allow firearms. Meanwhile, at this paint store located in the same strip mall, firearms will not be allowed.
Do you think some people will be freaked out to see someone carrying a handgun on their hip?
Maybe.
While some admitted they haven't paid much attention, others, like this woman's daughter, admitted it concerns them.
To be honest, it's kind of stupid. There's like mass shootings going on. That's kind of stupid. Like, why are there mass shootings? Well, duh, you're carrying a handgun.
Does that scare you?
Yeah, it scares me.
But this man had a different way of looking at it.
If they're going to be carrying them, I think I'd rather know it.
El Pasoan John Ghost pointed out concealed carry was already legal in Texas, so the only difference is now people will be allowed to carry out in the open.
I think if they're going to carry, I just didn't know that they were carrying, so that's how I feel about it. I don't really have a problem, you know, with people carry or not.
Darren Hunt, ABC-7.
And joining us now are concealed handgun license instructor Sam Morgan and concealed handgun license holder Sean Felice. Welcome to the program. Glad you're with us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so law enforcement telling people not to call the police unless they see someone carrying a handgun and acting suspiciously. But suspicious is different to everyone. What may be suspicious to me may not be suspicious to you, and vice versa. So how do you balance that?
Well, the way we have to balance is through training. Hopefully El Paso PD and the sheriff's departments have received some additional training as to work with the concealed handgun, the handgun licensees. The bottom line is we have a right to carry these handguns legally and openly now, and that is going to put some strain on the law enforcement community until we find a balance of how to interact with these folks.
When individuals openly carry firearms in public, there are concerns that citizens may become frightened and call police, and that this can lead to a waste of law enforcement resources. What do you think about that, Sean?
Well, absolutely. As a concealed handgun license holder, open carry would never ever be an option for me. I always felt that open carry is something that law enforcement, that's their job, to open carry. When they come into a scene, most people, before they see an officer, see someone packing a pistol, and that is an intimidating force. For concealed handgun license holders, concealing the firearm is an advantage from almost every sense, whether it's tactical or psychological.
So you carry your handgun with you every day, all the time, everywhere, except, of course, when it's specifically forbidden with the signs.
As every good CHL holder should do.
But you conceal it.
Yes, absolutely.
And now that you have a right to carry it out in the open, you will choose not to exercise that right.
Never would carry it out in the open.
Why?
It's psychologically damaging. Most people, well, I don't know if it's most people, but lots of people, when they see a gun, they immediately have a negative connotation, especially if it's not on somebody who's law enforcement. Right. I wouldn't want to bring that kind of feeling to anybody.
You wouldn't want to intimidate people.
I wouldn't want to intimidate people or make somebody feel uncomfortable. Not everybody was raised around firearms.
Mm-hmm. Will you be exercising your right to carry in the open?
I'll be exercising my right to carry concealed. I will not carry open. I realize that we do have that option, but it's not an option that I will exercise. I believe that it will bring undue attention to me, and for me, there's not a logical reason for the open. I do understand why individuals would want to carry open. But at the same time, it's not something that I personally would be willing to do.
It makes you a target.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, if there was let's say, you're at a public setting, we have all the mass shootings that everybody focuses on, but say you were in that situation, if you have a pistol on your side, you'd be the first person that person's going to go and go after, take you out of the equation. Or if you're walking down the street and you're playing John Wayne because you can, somebody could come up and hit you over the head with a pipe and take your pistol from you, from behind. I mean,
stolen guns are a problem in this country. Does open carry increase the risk of gun theft?
I do not believe it does, but I've read some recent stories where individuals that were carrying open were actually robbed at gunpoint and relieved of their weapon. Me personally, I tend to believe that there's a certain amount of awareness that's going to be instilled in everyone who actually carries open, because when you start carrying that weapon open and the amount of attention that's going to be projected towards you, especially in El Paso. I mean, El Paso is a great place to live, but individuals are not necessarily accustomed or comfortable with individuals such as myself or Sean carrying weapons in the open. I believe that this awareness that is going to be created is going to make our gun owners and carriers a lot safer.
Well, I mean, even if you conceal carry, you're constantly very hyper aware that you have a handgun with you. Sean, you described it as sort of a heightened sense of self-awareness.
Absolutely. When you get your CHL, when you go through the course, when you take a course with Sam, and you're done, you're excited, you want your ability to carry your pistol. Well, there's sites that you can go on and talk to others who are doing the same, and it's usually a moaning and groaning about how long it takes to get the license actually delivered to you in the mail. But when you do, you go and take the Wally walk, is what they call it, and you basically park your car in the parking lot and drive down, walk down to the Walmart, and you walk around mass amounts of people with your pistol at your side, or concealed. And that's when you get that heightened sense of awareness. That first time I did that, I really felt like, okay, now I'm armed.
I believe that's true to a certain point. It does become routine after a while, just like wearing a watch. You might wear your watch every day, but when you walk out of the house without it, even though you've got that iPhone, you're very aware that you don't have it. For me, over a certain amount of time, like I think you said 2 years you've been carrying. I've been carrying for about 15 years. And in that 15 years, it becomes very routine. I wake up in the morning, I go through my routine, I holster up, and I go on about my business. Most people have no idea that I'm actually carrying. And when it comes to open carry, you're losing that advantage, I guess you could say, that strategic advantage, that tactical advantage, because people
to be unnoticed.
To be unnoticed, that anonymity is a nice thing to have, but there are folks that really truly believe that they believe in that constitutional carry, and I think Texas has done a great job with enabling the laws the way they have, because there's a certain amount of training and education that goes with it versus, hey, I'm of age, I can own a gun and I can carry it because of my constitutional rights. So I think Texas got it right with the training and education piece.
With open carry, people like yourselves, you don't have to worry about accidentally brandishing your handgun anymore because you no longer have to conceal it. But even though it's not legally brandishing anymore, psychologically, isn't it still?
Well, that's the whole thing with the concealed handgun holder is you hide your pistol. And one of the fun things I do at a restaurant is I always look and see if I can spot somebody. And I always get kind of disappointed when I spot it because it's like, come on,
Right.
You're not supposed to be able to see it.
Right.
Like through imprinting is one of the most common where you can see that it's underneath their shirt. And you can see the imprint of it. Or some people like to carry these big full-size pistols, and you can see the weight in their, even in the way they walk. But the whole thing with concealed carry is just that, to conceal it. You don't want to ever have to pull out your pistol. You want it concealed at all times. And like Sam says, you forget about it. You forget you're even carrying it because you're.
You know, I imagine there are CHL holders watching who say, I don't want to conceal. I don't want to. I have a right to open carry my handgun, and I want to show the bad guys out there or the bad people out there that there's somebody armed and ready to protect others, and that the sight of it will be a deterrent for crime. I'm sure there are people watching thinking that.
There are many people that believe that the primary purpose is to deter crime. You know, obviously we're not duly sworn law enforcement officers, therefore we don't have a duty to get involved, but we do have a right. And that right doesn't disappear whether we're carrying concealed or whether we're carrying open. That right is still there. But there are a lot of folks that have the belief that crime, you can deter a tremendous amount of crime when the bad guys can actually see that there are armed citizens in the locations where they're at.
Vigilant citizenship.
Yes.
It's like a vigilant citizen.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get to your emails and your tweets and your phone
Visit us
calls.
on the web.
Remember, you can call us at 496-1775, email us at ABC-7 Xtra at KVIA.com, or tweet me at Maria G. ABC-7. We'll be right back. We're talking about open carry tonight. Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. We're talking about open carry today. We have a tweet from Marco saying, CHL holders know the rules. Criminals do not or don't care. This law is good for Texas. Guns over criminals all day long. Let's go to the phone lines. Carlos on the west side. What's your comment or your question, Carlos?
Good evening. I just had a quick question. If I don't own a gun and I don't have the license, but if I'm interested in buying one, is there some sort of class that I need to take before I start applying for those licenses and those fees? And what are the fees?
Okay. So he's interested.
Okay. In order to qualify for a concealed handgun license, you do have to take a class. It's minimum of 4 hours of classroom training, plus the range qualification where you will qualify for a certified instructor such as myself. The fees are going to vary from instructor to instructor. Obviously, the state has no mandate on any fees that we have to, a minimum that we have to charge, so you have to get with your instructors. But the state does charge a minimum of $140 for the application fee.
This is an interesting question from Adra in a tweet. Can citizens ask open carry people for their license? And should they call 911 if they refuse to provide it?
No, citizens do not have the right to ask us for our licenses. And as far as calling 911, unless a person is doing something illegal, there's really no justification for calling the police. I mean, the police have to have a reasonable suspicion to even ask us. So a citizen would not be able to ask us.
Unholstered.
Yeah.
A reasonable suspicion.
No reasonable suspicion that a crime is about to be committed or a crime has been committed. That is the guidance that law enforcement has to even ask us for identification.
What about unholster? Like if you're walking, it's open carry, but you're walking with your pistol out.
Yeah, that's reasonable suspicion.
That's reasonable suspicion.
Because the way the law is written is that we have to have the weapon holstered, and it's on a belt or a shoulder holster. So those are the only ways that we can actually carry the weapon itself.
Not in your pocket.
Not in your pocket, not in your hand. Not
gangster style.
Yeah, not gangster style.
Right. Yeah, right. So,
exactly.
Right. So if there's somebody, holding a weapon like this, then yes, you should call 911.
Call 911.
If you see someone with, acting normally with their weapon holstered, as it should be, then that's legal.
Yes.
Let's go to Bob the Riot. I believe open carry can make you a target for someone with bad intentions. You'd be the first one they'd go after.
That's what we were just talking about, yeah.
Let's go to Johnny in Central El Paso on the phone line. Hi, Johnny. What's your comment or your question?
If I walk into a business and I see somebody carrying an exposed weapon, I'm going to walk out, especially if it's a place that sells liquor, like a pizza place where there are children. Anyone can wear a gun and conceal it. The ones that want to expose it, in my humble personal opinion, have a attitude, have a personal agenda. And those are the kind of people that I'm concerned about. If something was to happen in the business, that they would react. My concern is there's a lot of people out there that would do things without consideration for public safety. And that's where I would do. I would walk out of a business that allows people to carry weapons. Thank you both.
Thank you very much, Johnny. And we have been seeing a lot of this on social media. People who are opposed to this, they have like this little business card that they've printed out that they're going to leave in businesses where they see somebody openly carrying, that says, I saw somebody openly carrying a weapon in your establishment. I'm not coming back until you post a sign saying that you don't allow it.
Even aside from a sign being posted, if a business owner just asks you to leave, you respect their wishes and you leave. But again, the push, I wish everybody would understand that carries any firearm is to conceal it. You would never open carry it. There's plenty of what I call professional guns on the street. We have how many different law enforcement agencies? You've got DEA, FBI, El Paso Police, Border Patrol. There's almost never a day that goes by I don't see some official walking with a pistol on their side.
What do you think of Johnny's comment that the individuals who choose to openly carry have a personal agenda?
I don't believe so.
I don't think it's a personal agenda.
No.
I mean, people like to just exercise their rights.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just the, you know, everyone's different, and like we were talking earlier, people are very passionate when you start talking about open carrying. I think what a lot of people need to realize is that times are different now. It's not the same. We don't have to hunt for food like we used to, you know, and there's, for the most part, no imminent danger. There always is to a degree as far as just being aware of your surroundings, but
being situationally aware is going to cut down on a lot of unnecessary use of force. I mean, when you look at someone who's exercising their right, you know, we live in the greatest country on the planet, okay, and you know, there's no need for us to have to prove anything. The law is the law, okay. This is the law of the land now, and we are going to have to figure out how to make it work. The onus is on law enforcement and our ability to inform the community as to what is actually happening. As far as leaving a business, that's your right, you know. Right. But at the same time, businesses have the right to deny us to come in there by posting either a 30.06 sign for concealed carry, which means at 30.06 we cannot carry in there even if we're concealed. They'll post a 30.07 sign, which is no open carry allowed in the facility, or if they post both and they don't want anyone with the guns, it's as simple as posting signage if you are a business owner. But obviously, just like folks that don't want to be in there when gun owners are in there, the gun owners have the right not to, you know, frequent your establishment as well.
It has to be an official sign too. It can't be a circle with a line through it and a gun on it.
No.
It has to be an actual 30.06.
Right, that answers Juan's question on Twitter. When a business posts no guns allowed, does this mean no guns period or no open carries? And as you just explained, it's two very specific official signs.
Two very specific things, because the same folks that might not want, or businesses that might not want us to open carry there, might allow us to carry concealed, because there's a lot of business owners that have contacted me in the last few days asking that question specifically.
And a tweet from Martine: have first responders been trained on how to safely disarm someone who is unconscious or incapacitated at the scene of an accident? That would be a good question for first responders. Like I said, law enforcement and first responders, I think there's going to be probably some need for additional training.
Oh yes, yes. We have to make the assumption that they've already received it or they're in the works for receiving it, because you're talking, the gun laws have changed significantly in the last few years. The last significant change was in 2013, and now here it is, 2016, bright and early, and we've already had another major change to the gun law. So I would make the assumption that law enforcement and first responders have received some type of training on that.
And this is from John. This is an email. You would be shocked to know how few people even notice when someone is open carrying a handgun. The sad truth is most people don't pay that much attention to their environment. I believe in the freedom to open carry, though I don't intend to practice it much, but it is nice to have the option of open carrying for a quick trip to the store or a walk around the block. I mean, in 44 other states, there's a version of open carry.
Yes, there is.
And, you know, we've all, you know, traveled, and maybe we've been around somebody who's open carrying and we didn't even realize it.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And the majority of these states, 31 of those states, are constitutional carry. So when you talk about constitutional carry, you're talking someone who's of legal age to have a gun and no training whatsoever. The state of Texas got it right. I'm going to have to say it again. They got it right, and I know there are proponents that would like constitutional carry to be the law of the land, but it's not.
Yeah. You know. No, I'm not a constitutional carry supporter either. But to get a CHL is not an easy task to do, and to open carry you have to have a CHL.
Right.
You know, it's not, once you get the firearm, you still cannot carry it, open or concealed. You have to do the course, and there's a certain amount of detective work going on from the instructors, I'm sure, that, you know, if somebody, just like the person who sells the gun, if they're acting erratic or something is definitely off. Well, that's a question that I have for you. Is there anything do you have any set of criteria for letting somebody take the course? Can you say to somebody, I am not going to provide the service for you?
I can deny training to anyone that I please. I don't have to train you just because you show up at my establishment. The law doesn't give us any mandate, but the bottom line is it's up to us if we train you or not.
It's at your discretion.
It's at my discretion, and I do keep some notes on students based off, you know, how I interact with them over the 4 hours, 5 hours that we're together.
Yeah. And the background checks for the CHL license are more stringent, from what I understand, than the background checks for when you're buying a gun, even.
Basically, it's the same. It's a federal background check. You have to self-disclose information about yourself, where you've lived for the last 5 years, where you've worked, and any mental or issues that you may have.
Anything above a Class B misdemeanor?
Anything above a Class B if you have a Class A or a Class B misdemeanor or a felony, you can't even get the license.
Right.
So
but you can still get a gun. But you can't.
Right.
Get the license.
This is from Burnaby. How does Mr. Morgan and Mr. Felice feel about continuing CCW training after a person gets their CHL, whether they choose to open carry or conceal? In my opinion, there is no point to carry if you don't train to prepare for a situation. Do you know what he's referring to, CCW training?
Yeah, it's concealed weapons, but it's just it's another phrase for concealed handgun. I truly believe that folks should continue to train. I encourage my students to go to the range at least 2 times a month. You know, I tell them, hey, you get paid 2 times a month. You should go shoot at least, every pay period, because you have to maintain your proficiency, because you are accountable for every round that comes out of your gun. And if you accidentally kill or injure someone, you will be held accountable for that. So it's going to be beneficial to you to continue your training. And I have had a lot of students, even though there's no requirement to continue the training, that come to me for additional training.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, more of your phone calls and your feedback from Twitter and email. Stay with us. Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. Let's get to Twitter here. Jerry tweeting at us, I'd like to know what the rules are. Can weapons be loaded, magazines in the clip, bullet in the chamber?
Yes. Guns can be loaded, ready to go. You can have magazine in the magazine well, round in the chamber, ready to go. Whether you carry it chambered or not, it still has to be holstered.
Sean, you were saying the reason you conceal also is because if you're going to take out your gun, it's to use it.
It's to